Ransomware, one of the most malicious and damaging acts of cybercrime that we know in our world today, and it affects so many organizations, so many companies and businesses are crippled by having all of their data encrypted, held for ransom, held as hostage, and then the threat actors and perpetrators demanding they pay millions or thousands of dollars or billions in some crazy cases in cryptocurrency to be able to get their files back and decrypted. All under the guise that if you don't pay within however much amount of time, the adversaries will release and publish and share out on the open internet all of your data, your sensitive intellectual property, your employee personnel, identifying information, like health information and super sensitive info. And all of that is just a gamble. If you actually do pay the ransom, there's still nothing stopping the adversary and the threat actor from releasing that information anyway. There is no sense of sportsmanship or code of conduct in cybercrime. So in this next segment within the dark web documentary, right, an artistic, historical, educational, and scientific encapsulation of the strange shenanigans you might find on the dark web or the deep web or whatever you want to call it, the Tor hidden services in the corners and crevices of the internet. We're going to be looking at one of these ransomware gangs, these cybercrime syndicates and underground groups' leak site. What they do when they publish information, and in some cases these get syndicated to marketplaces where they could be downloaded again for free or bought and sold, and sometimes they may not always be what they're cracked up to be. Let's go see, let's explore. This is all to be taken with a grain of salt for your education, for your information, and for your awareness. So I am inside of my Unix virtual machine. I'm working inside of the Tor web browser and looking at an Onion site that has a collected resource for all of the potential ransomware group sites that this individual, this researcher, has been tracking and is willing to share with their Onion v3 link. Now, I've taken a look at Arvin Club. That link seems to be down for me. If I try to open that in another browser, this might take a little bit of time, but it does not end up loading. However, Babuk, I do not exactly know how to pronounce them. Again, Arvin Club doesn't seem to come back for me, but Babuk, however you end up pronouncing this ransomware gang, I don't know. I haven't been able to ask anyone. Babuk's Onion site and public leak blog is available and accessible, and I don't know, and I'll be the first to admit, if Babuk is still active. This is the state of their online presence as I'm exploring it right now, the time of the upload of this video. And this says, hey, welcome to the leak site created by the Babuk ransomware. Smiley face. If we scroll down, we can note what they offer and showcase here. They say, hey, we do not audit these categories of organizations, being hospitals. If I zoom in here, you can see, look, we don't actually dig into hospitals. We do not want to attack or target hospitals as of sure what they say as their sort of sportsmanship, except private plastic surgery clinics and private dental clinics. Okay. They don't target and go up against nonprofits, any non-profitable charitable foundation, and schools, except the major universities, because that could have some potential ROI, right? Return on investment with data that could be sold or an impact that could be made. And small businesses. Companies with annual revenue less than about $4 million. Info about the revenue that we take from Zoom info and find online. Now, again, take this with a grain of salt. Whether or not you believe or trust what these cyber criminals might be willing to say in this Onion Tor hidden service website. But okay, they do want to have some sense of good faith, if you can even say that. Look, we are not going to attack. We will not ransom. We will not encrypt and do damage for supposedly, presumably, hospitals, nonprofits, schools, and small businesses, with their own exceptions, of course. Now, with that said, I want to dive into a little bit more. Here's an About Us section where they explain what is Babuk, or Babuk, again, however you want to explain or pronounce that. They say, hey, we are non-malicious specialized software. Yeah, okay. Created with the purpose to show security issues inside of corporate networks via ransomware. Babuk uses strong symmetric encryption combined with ECDH. I think I could be totally wrong. Elliptic curves Diffie-Hellman, maybe? I might have that completely wrong. But that means data is impossible to recover without our private key. So in our understanding, we're some kind of cyberpunks. We randomly test corporate network security. In a case of penetration, we ask for money and publish the information about threats and vulnerabilities that we found in our blog if the company does not want to pay. For example, imagine the situation. Villains intruding the building company's network. A huge developer who specializes on sport objects. Those villains don't care about the money. They're just crazy fanatics. I'm not even going to say that word. I'm going to get demonetized. They get the blueprints and schematics. Just think what going to be further. What could move next from that, right? Our audit, and that's what they call them. So they call this ransomware, this serious crippling of an entire organization or industry or enterprise that could ruin potential careers and vacations and the lifeblood for people. Our audit is not the worst thing that could happen to your company. Think twice. Pay by money of maybe the people lives of, or maybe the people lives. I don't even know how to read that, but it sketches me out. That gives me some heebie-jeebies. But hey, fret not. They do have rules, of course. Hey, payment rules, right? For the victim, for the individual that is hit and struck by ransomware. We'll give a Bitcoin wallet to the client. Again, that's what they call the client or the customer that has received this quote-unquote free penetration test and audit. Please request a Bitcoin wallet once you're ready to pay. Client should send at first one Bitcoin on our wallet just for verification purposes. And after we confirm the transaction, like, hey, here's a little TCP handshake, I can validate and trust that you've sent this thing, then the client will send the whole amount, whether that be however many thousands, millions of dollars, right? After the first confirmation on the blockchain is received, we will initiate the process of providing you with all that was claimed. As in here, you can have your files back, or here's a decryption key, and then you can safely recover your files. If the key even works, and if you have the trust, and I think there's a really interesting conversation there. Let me get to real talk for a moment. There's some weird business perspective when I think a cybercrime group or ransomware gang is doing these transactions with their client and with their, again, customer performing the audit. In the case of ransomware, it's sort of like they need to have this built up reputation, and that like they are willing to give you the private key that will actually work and definitively be what they promise to give you, so that they can get good Yelp reviews. You know what I mean? And not literally Yelp reviews, but like, hey, they've got this reputation and there's a word of mouth that, okay, they will give what was promised so that they can actually get paid in the future. It's like they have to build up their own clientele of people that they, I don't know, get their street cred, and that they will, in fact, do a normal business transaction in the case of crippling an entire business and demanding money. It's wild. But in the case that you are compromised and encrypted with the Babuk ransomware, here's how to use the decryptor. Before you install it on any server or host, you should turn off antivirus and Windows Defender. Also better to switch off internet connection. Okay, that sounded a little bit suspicious at first, but switching off internet connection maybe only sort of kind of makes it feel better. I don't know. I still, that grosses me out. Then you have to run program as administrator. After decryption will be finished, you'll get the message, so wait for it. You copy and paste the decryption tool on each locked server or host and then execute it there. So it has to be run on every single individual endpoint that would be compromised. Wild. So now let's dive into their blog, their leaks, what they've published from previous victims and targets, or again, what they consider their clients or their customers of this audit. Now, I'm going to be redacting and obscuring a lot here out of just courtesy and kind of polite understanding, respect for those victims or those targets or those individual companies. So bear with me. But all of these that I'm seeing right now look to be as of 2021. This looks to be around the July and June months between August 2021. And I haven't seen any other way to access more of the page. of the other more pages within the blog. But if we go click on one of these, I'll go navigate to this. Okay, and this is an alleged victim. And what they offer here are some screenshots or images to sort of prove or validate they have done this work. Now, this is kind of sketchy as it is. You can see whatever that might be over on the side there for what could normally be an Activate Windows segment. We could explore just a couple of these just to peruse, but look at how insane this might happen to be. A lot of these file names are pertinent to what this organization does for their, product market fit here with the actual service that they provide. Here are some event statements with contractors and the funds, the goods that are sold and provided here. This looks like a listing of the individuals or the personal people that would go participate or be present for one specific activity. And this goes on for a while. There is a lot more here. But scrolling down, the download links listing doesn't seem to include anything, at least at the time of recording. That looks like it's a trend across all the other pages. Here I am exploring a different published victim page as part of their blog. And in this image gallery, they straight up, no joke, have passports, like legitimate people's passports readily publicly on display. Of course, going to be obscuring and redacting this, but that is wild, and I do not feel good being on this page right now. This is another one of the alleged victims shared for the blog post here. Scrolling down here, there's nothing identifying in this blurb here, so I can read this aloud to you and leave it unredacted. We've got 400 gigs of your data in total, which includes the following: customer data, corporate clients, confidential files, agreements, taxes, funds transfers, and a gig of your emails. And in the image gallery down below, you can straight up see emails and inboxes, things that were sent here left and right, back and forth between personnel and the conversations that they've been having within this organization. This is another post for another victim. Again, on this page, the download links section has nothing displayed. I don't know if that's, hey, JavaScript not showing it for me, or Babuk had just kind of removed it, or so much time had passed. I don't know. But here is another piece that I can leave unredacted because it's interesting and weird. This is again back in 2021. I think the share date was back in June of that year. But this is the Babuk team shares the position stated by the most famous hacktivist group. Babuk team shares the position stated by the most famous hacktivist group, which is a strange looking included image and quite a blurb here, getting into some of the dirty waters with some fellows, right? Hey, we share the position stated by the most famous hacktivist group does not mean we're somehow related to the anonymous. I'm assuming that's what they're referring to as the most famous hacktivist group. Elon Musk's attitude does not leave us other options but to act. As after shallow research, we're seeing obvious strong bond between him, etc., and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. You could totally read this for yourself. An interesting read. Take of it what you will. This again is some time ago, so I don't know if it's something that we need to be burdening our minds with in today's day and age, but reading through whatever English statements, if you can make sense of them here, or just, I don't know, making light of it and having a good giggle, whatever the case may be, that is one of the other recent things present, and at least the last thing listed from their blog. Now note, looking through their blog, each of these are under the original Onion address with /blog in the directory, and then seemingly a hash. This could, I think, SHA-256. I'm not sure how long this hash is. It looks like 64 characters in length. But this is not something we could easily determine. And then going to a blog on its own doesn't give me anything worthwhile. There's nothing listed here. So I couldn't track down or find other things if they just weren't in that small blurb present on their homepage. But regardless, that is a look at Babuk and Babuk, or I don't know, however, again, literally however you pronounce this thing, I don't know. That is their leak site. And a quick cursory showcase for you to get the idea of what these things really are and what's included there. Some cases there is a download link, and maybe in this case there wasn't, but still some of the spooky, scary images that can show the devastation and impact of cybercrime activity like this. With that said, this is one of many criminal underground gangs or folks wreaking havoc with ransomware. And again, kind of having this nonchalant approach of, hey, we are non-malicious. We're doing this out of the goodness of our hearts to provide security services and testing for our clients, for our customers. And, it could be worse. Literally what they said. This is a drop in the bucket. Hopefully in other videos we got to explore and take a look at some of the others and see what other ones are shaking up and working still today, what are making the headlines, what's making the news, and other things that you might very well track if you get into some of this cyber threat intelligence stuff, or you're keeping tabs on what these organized and orchestrated crime groups might be doing. I think still looking at or scraping and harvesting some of the data from these leak sites can be worthwhile, if just so you are alerted and the world and the industry can be alerted when an organization or company is popped. And I don't know, it was kept under the rug, it was hush hush, and they need to, we need to kind of make light of this bring it to light. And that is absolutely vital. So it might be worthwhile trying to see what we could do to scrape or retrieve some of this information in an automated fashion once we kind of collect and gather a whole lot more of these ransomware leak sites. I think that is worthwhile information, and for a lot of cybersecurity researchers, it's something that we keep tabs on. So enough of me rambling. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. We're going to be doing more. Let's dive into more together. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. I'll see you in the next video.